Captain Jinwoo stared at the endless black space through the bridge window of his ship, the New Horizon. The stars looked like tiny diamonds scattered across dark cloth. He had been exploring this part of space for 3 months now, and still found new things every day. This was what he loved about his job. "Captain, I'm getting something strange on the scanner," said So Young from her seat at the navigation desk. She was the best navigator Jinwoo had ever worked with. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel as she checked the readings again. Jinwoo walked over to look at her screen. "What kind of strange?" "There's a ship out there, but it's not moving. The energy readings are unlike anything I've seen before." So Young pointed to a dot on her screen that pulsed with soft light. "It's about 2 hours away at our current speed." Jinwoo thought for a moment. The Terran Colonial Alliance had sent them to map this sector of space, not to investigate every old ship they found. But something about this felt different. The energy signature was too unique to ignore. "Tae-Min, what do you think?" Jinwoo called to his engineer, who was checking some repairs near the back of the bridge. Tae-Min looked up from his work. He was young but very smart about how ships worked. If it's giving off energy after sitting in space for who knows how long, it might have technology we've never seen. Could be valuable for our research. Jin, their communications officer, spun around in her chair. "The Alliance told us to report anything unusual." "This sounds pretty unusual to me." Dong-Hyun, their science officer, was already pulling up star charts on his screen. "The nearest known civilization is 300 light-years from here. Whatever that ship is, it doesn't belong to anyone we know about." Jinwoo made his decision. So Young set course for that ship. "Let's go take a look." The New Horizon changed direction smoothly. Jinwoo's crew was small but good at their jobs. They had been working together for 2 years now, exploring the far edges of known space. Each of them had joined the mission for different reasons, but they all shared a love of discovery. As they got closer to the strange ship, everyone gathered on the bridge to see it. When it appeared on their main screen, they all fell silent. The ship was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. It was long and curved like a sword, but covered in what looked like crystal formations. These crystals glowed with soft blue and purple light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. The ship looked old, very old, but also somehow timeless. "I've never seen anything like it," whispered Dong-Hyun. "The design doesn't match any known alien architecture in our databases." "How big is it?" Jinwoo asked. So Young checked her readings. "About half the size of our ship. Small crew, probably. But Captain, the energy readings are getting stronger as we get closer." Jinwoo studied the alien vessel. It showed no signs of life, no movement, no communications. But those crystals kept glowing, which meant something inside was still working. "After all this time, any signs of weapons?" he asked. Tae-Min ran a quick scan. "Nothing that looks like weapons to me. The ship appears to be powered down except for whatever is making those crystals glow." "Are we going aboard?" Jin asked. She sounded excited and nervous at the same time. Jinwoo knew this was risky. Alliance protocol said they should report the find and wait for a larger research team. But they were weeks away from the nearest Alliance base. By the time help arrived, someone else might find this ship first. "We'll do a quick investigation." Jinwoo decided. "Tae-Min, prepare the airlocks. So Young, bring us alongside and find a good docking point. Everyone else, get ready for EVA suits." Within an hour, they had connected their ship to the alien vessel. The crystal formations had grown brighter when the New Horizon approached, as if responding to their presence. Jinwoo found this both fascinating and concerning. The team suited up and entered the alien ship through what appeared to be an airlock. Their suit lights revealed corridors that curved in impossible ways. The walls were smooth and seemed to be made of the same crystal material that covered the outside. "There's atmosphere in here," Tae-Min reported, checking his readings. "Breathable even. Temperature is comfortable." "How is that possible?" So Young asked. "This ship looks ancient. Maybe whoever built it had better technology than we thought." Dong-Hyun suggested they moved through the ship carefully. The corridors were empty but not dusty. Everything was clean and preserved, as if time had stopped inside the vessel. Their footsteps echoed strangely in the crystal halls. The ship seemed designed for beings about the same size as humans. The doorways were the right height, and what looked like control panels were at comfortable reaching distance. But the writing on these panels was in symbols none of them recognized. "The bridge should be this way," So Young said, following her. Handheld scanner. When they found the bridge, it was smaller than theirs but more beautiful. Crystal formations grew from the walls and ceiling like frozen flowers. In the center of the room sat a single chair that looked like it was carved from one giant crystal, but what caught their attention was the object. Floating above the chair, it was a sphere about the size of a basketball, perfectly clear like glass, but inside the sphere, tiny lights moved like stars. They swirled and danced, forming patterns that looked almost like galaxies. The sphere rotated slowly in the air, held up by nothing they could see. "What is that?" "Hi," Jin whispered. Hyun approached carefully with his scanner. "The energy readings are off the charts. This thing is generating more power than our ships." "Main reactor. Don't touch it yet," Jinwoo warned. "We don't know what it does." But as he spoke, Jinwoo felt drawn to the floating sphere. Something about it called to him. The tiny lights inside seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. Without thinking, he reached out toward it. "Captain, wait!" Taemin called out, too late. Jinwoo's gloved hand touched the surface of the sphere. The moment his fingers made contact, the sphere stopped rotating. The lights inside flared brightly, then began moving faster and faster. Cracks appeared on the surface of the sphere, spreading like a spider web. "Everyone back!" Jinwoo shouted, but the sphere shattered before anyone could move. Light exploded from the broken sphere, filling the entire bridge. The team covered their eyes and stumbled backward. The light was warm and bright, but not painful. It felt alive. Somehow, intelligent. When the light faded, they lowered their hands and gasped. A woman stood where the sphere had been. She was tall and graceful, with long dark hair that seemed to move in a wind they couldn't feel. Her skin was pale and smooth, and her eyes were the color of deep space, dark but filled with distant stars. She wore a dress that looked like it was made from the same crystal material as the ship, but it flowed like silk. She was the most beautiful being any of them had ever seen. The woman looked around at each of them, her star-filled eyes taking in their EVA suits and human faces. When her gaze settled on Jinwoo, she smiled. It was a sad smile, but also grateful. "So," she said, her voice like music, "humans have found me at last. I am Araleth, and I have been waiting in that prison for longer than your species has existed." She stepped forward, and Jinwoo realized she was floating slightly above the crystal floor. "You have freed me, Jinwoo of Earth," she continued, "and by the ancient laws that bind all cosmic forces, I must grant you 3 wishes. Choose carefully, for such power is rarely given to mortal beings." Jinwoo stared at her, his mind racing. A genie. They had found an actual genie, trapped in an alien prison ship. The implications were staggering. Around him, his crew stood frozen in amazement and fear. None of them had expected their simple exploration mission to lead to this moment. Araleth waited patiently, her starlight eyes fixed on Jinwoo. She had seen this scene play out countless times with countless species across the universe. Soon, he would make his first wish, and the ancient cycle would continue once again. Araleth waited for Jinwoo to speak. She had done this many times before with many different species across the galaxy. First came the shock of seeing her appear. Then came the greedy eyes as they realized what she could do for them. Finally came the wishes, always the same types of wishes. The humans stood frozen in their bulky spacesuits, staring at her. She studied their faces through the clear helmets. Their expressions showed surprise and wonder, but not the hungry look she usually saw. This was interesting. She decided to make herself more appealing to them. Her form shifted slightly, becoming more human-like. Her crystal dress changed to look like the uniforms they wore, but made of shimmering light. She had learned long ago that beings were more comfortable making wishes when she looked familiar to them. I know this must be overwhelming, Aeroleth said, her voice gentle. You have many questions. I will answer what I can. Jinwoo found his voice first. You said you've been trapped in that sphere. For how long? Time moves differently when you are imprisoned between dimensions, Aeroleth replied. But I have watched stars be born and die while waiting for someone to free me. Your sun was not even formed when I was first bound to grant wishes. Taemin stepped forward, his engineer's mind full of questions. How does the wish-granting work? Is it magic or some kind of advanced science? Aeroleth smiled at his curiosity. The distinction between magic and science becomes meaningless when you understand the true nature of reality. I manipulate the fundamental forces that hold the universe together. You would call it magic because your science is not yet advanced enough to explain it. What kinds of wishes have others made? So Young asked. The genie's expression grew sad. Always the same patterns. The Zephyrian Empire found me first, thousands of years ago. Their emperor wished for weapons that could conquer any world. His second wish was for ships that could travel anywhere instantly. His third wish was for an army that could never be defeated. She gestured around the crystal ship. This vessel belonged to the Ethereals, an ancient race of scholars. They found me after the Zephyrians were done with me. Their leader wished for eternal life, perfect knowledge of all things, and the power to stop time itself. What happened to them? Dong Hyeon asked. The Zephyrians used their wished-for power to build an empire that lasted for centuries. But empires built on magic instead of wisdom always fall eventually. The Ethereals became bored with their eternal lives and perfect knowledge. They abandoned this ship and wandered off into distant galaxies, looking for something to make them feel alive again. Hyjin shook her head. That sounds terrible. All that power and they were still unhappy. Power gained without effort or sacrifice rarely brings true happiness, Aeroleth said. But beings rarely realize this until it is too late. She turned back to Jinwoo. The last species to find me were the machine minds of Nexus Prime. They wished for unlimited processing power, the ability to control all technology in the galaxy, and botas that could never break down. They used their wishes to become the most advanced artificial intelligence network in known space. Are they still around? Jinwoo asked. Double quote, yes, though they have grown cold and calculating. They see all organic life as inefficient and primitive. They would not approve of humans exploring space in such simple ships. Aeroleth floated closer to Jinwoo. But now it is your turn to choose. 3 wishes, any wishes you desire. I have the power to make your species the rulers of this galaxy. I can give you technology beyond your wildest dreams. I can make you personally immortal and all-knowing. She paused, watching his face. Or perhaps you wish for something simpler, wealth beyond measure, the perfect mate? The power to read minds? Jinwoo looked at his crew. They were all staring at him with wide eyes, realizing that their captain held the power to change everything for humanity. The weight of that responsibility was enormous. Can we Can we talk about this first? Jinwoo asked. As a crew? Aeroleth blinked in surprise. In all her eons of existence, no one had ever asked to discuss their wishes with others. They always wanted to make decisions immediately, usually focused on personal gain. Of course. She said slowly, take all the time you need. I've waited this long. I can wait a little longer. Jinwoo led his team to the far side of the bridge, out of earshot. They huddled together in their spacesuits, speaking in whispers. This is incredible, Hyjin said, her voice shaking with excitement. Do you realize what this means? We could solve every problem humanity has ever had. We need to be careful, Dong Hyeon warned. She said all the other species that found her eventually had problems. Maybe getting everything you want isn't as good as it sounds. Taemin nodded. The Zephyrian Empire fell. The Ethereals got bored and left. The machine minds became cold and heartless. There seems to be a pattern here, but we're different, So Young argued. We're humans. Maybe we can handle this power better than the others did. Jinwoo listened to his crew debate. part of him, was tempted by the possibilities. He could wish for faster-than-light travel, making human exploration of the galaxy easy. He could wish for cures to all diseases, ending suffering on Earth. He could wish for unlimited clean energy, solving environmental problems forever. But something bothered him about the whole situation. "What do you think about her?" he asked. His crew, "About Aeroleth herself? What do you mean?" Hyjin asked. "She's been trapped for thousands of years, forced to grant wishes to anyone who frees her. Doesn't that seem wrong to you?" The crew fell silent, thinking about this. "It does seem unfair," So Young admitted. "She didn't choose to be a genie. Someone or something made her into one. And every time she grants 3 wishes, she gets trapped again until the next person finds her," Taemin added. "That's not much of a life." Daohyun looked back at Aeroleth, who was waiting patiently by the crystal chair. "She's incredibly powerful, but she has no freedom to use that power for herself. She can only use it to fulfill other people's desires." Jinwoo felt something click in his mind. "That's it. That's what's been bothering me." He walked back to Aeroleth, his crew following behind him. The genie looked up hopefully, expecting him to announce his first wish. "I've made my decision about—" "My first wish," Jinwoo said. Aeroleth straightened, prepared to hear another request for power or wealth or immortality. She had granted thousands of wishes over the centuries. She knew exactly what he would ask for. "I wish for you to be truly free," Jinwoo said clearly. "No more being bound to grant wishes. No more cosmic prison. No more serving others against your will. I wish for you to have the freedom to choose your own path and make your own decisions." Aeroleth stared at him in complete shock. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. For several long moments, she simply stood there, unable to process what she had just heard. I don't understand," she finally whispered. "You want to waste your first wish on freeing me?" "It's not a waste," Jinwoo said firmly. "Everyone deserves to be free, even genies." Around them, reality began to shimmer and shake. The crystal formations on the walls pulsed with brilliant light. Something fundamental in the universe was changing. Aeroleth felt the ancient bonds that held her begin to crack and break. For the first time in millennia, she felt truly free, and she had no idea what that meant. The moment Jinwoo's wish took effect, the entire universe felt it. Aeroleth gasped as invisible chains that had bound her for countless ages suddenly snapped and fell away. The crystal ship around them began to glow brighter, responding to her newfound freedom. She stumbled backward, overwhelmed by sensations she had forgotten existed. "I can feel it," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "The bonds are breaking. I'm actually free." But her liberation sent ripples through space and time that reached far beyond the small alien ship. Across the galaxy, ancient beings who maintained the cosmic order suddenly sat up in alarm on a world that existed between dimensions. The Cosmic Council gathered in emergency session. These were beings older than most stars, creatures who had shaped the laws of reality itself. They appeared as pillars of light and shadow, their true forms too complex for mortal minds to understand. "The Aeroleth protocol has been broken," announced the first speaker, its voice like the sound of dying stars. "For the first time in galactic history, a wish granter has been freed by the wish of another." "This should not be possible," said another council member. "The binding spells were designed to be unbreakable. No being would ever waste a wish on freeing their servant." "Yet it has happened," the first speaker replied. "And the one who did it was human." The word human caused murmurs of confusion among the council. Most of them had never heard of the species before. "They are a young race from the outer spiral," explained the keeper of records. "Barely advanced enough for space travel. They have no magic, no cosmic power, no understanding of the greater universe." "Then how did they break bonds that have held for millions of years?" Before anyone could answer, alarms began sounding throughout their dimension. The liberation of Aeroleth had triggered something none of them had expected. Back on the crystal ship, Aeroleth was experiencing freedom for the first time in her existence. She looked at her hands with wonder, then at Jinwoo and his crew. "You have no idea what you've done," she said, but she was smiling through her tears. "I can choose. For the first time ever, I can actually choose what to do with my power." "What do you want to do?" So Young asked gently. Aeroleth considered this. I don't know. I've never been able to want things for myself before. This is all so new." Suddenly, her expression changed to one of concern. "But Jinwoo, there will be consequences. The cosmic order has been disrupted. Other powers in the universe will not be happy about this." As if summoned by her words, Hyjin's communications equipment began beeping frantically. She checked her readings and went pale. "Captain, we're receiving signals from all over the galaxy. Emergency broadcasts, military alerts, diplomatic messages. Something big is happening." Jinwoo moved to look at her screen. "What kind of messages?" "They're in different languages, but the computer is translating some of them. The Zephyrian Empire is mobilizing their fleet. Something about their divine weapons failing. And there are reports of power failures across multiple star systems." Aeroleth closed her eyes and concentrated. When she opened them again, her face was grave. "It's worse than I thought. My freedom has weakened the magic that I granted to other species over the centuries. The Zephyrians' conquest weapons are failing. The ethereal's immortality is flickering. The machine mind's unlimited processing power is becoming limited again." "Is that bad?" Taemin asked. "For them, yes. Their entire civilizations were built on power I gave them. Without that power, some of their empires might collapse," Dong Hyeon frowned. "So by freeing you, we accidentally hurt entire civilizations?" "Not hurt," Aeroleth corrected. "You've returned them to their natural state. They were never meant to have that level of power. It made them dependent and weak in other ways." She paused, sensing something else. "But there's more. My liberation has sent a signal to other cosmic entities like me. Wish granters, genies, jinn, and similar beings who are still trapped in their own prisons. They can feel that freedom is possible now." The ship suddenly shook as something massive passed nearby. Through the bridge windows they could see strange lights moving in the darkness of space. "What is that?" Jinwoo asked. Aeroleth looked out and smiled sadly. "Those are other trapped entities, drawn to the source of the liberation signal. They're hoping someone will free them too." As they watched, dozens of glowing shapes appeared around their ship. Some looked like bottles floating in space. Others resembled crystals, mirrors, or stranger objects that hurt to look at directly. Each one contained a powerful being who had been forced into servitude. "How many are there?" So Young whispered. "Thousands," Aeroleth replied. "The cosmic powers have been enslaving beings like me for millions of years. We were all turned into wish granters, forced to serve whoever found us." One of the floating prisons, a massive bottle made of what looked like starlight, drifted close to their ship. Inside, they could see a figure that seemed to be made of living fire. "That's Kalai the Dreamweaver," Aeroleth explained. "He was bound to grant wishes related to sleep and dreams. Before his imprisonment, he was the guardian of an entire system of peaceful worlds." Another prison approached, this one looking like a mirror that reflected not light but time itself. "And that's Nixair the Starbinder. She could manipulate gravity and space. Her people were explorers who helped young civilizations reach the stars safely." Jinwoo felt a weight settling on his shoulders. "They're all trapped like you were." "Yes, and now they know that freedom is possible. But they can only be freed by someone making a wish for their liberation." Hyjin's equipment beeped again. "Captain, we're getting more signals. Some of them are coming from the direction of Earth." Jinwoo felt his heart skip. "From Earth? What do they say?" "The messages are ... confused. Earth Command is asking what happened to cause cosmic disturbances. Through the human space. They're also reporting that several alien ships have appeared near our colonies, demanding to know where we are." Aeroleth nodded grimly. "The affected civilizations have traced the disruption back to its source? They know humans were responsible." "For my freedom, are we in danger?" Taemin asked. "Probably. The Zephyrian Empire built their entire military on weapons I granted them long ago. Without those weapons, they're vulnerable to their enemies. They'll want their power back and they'll do anything to get it, including forcing Jinwoo to use his remaining wishes to restore what they lost, Dong Hyan realized. Araleth looked at Jinwoo with concern. You still have 2 wishes left. I'm free now, but the ancient laws still bind me to grant them if you choose to make them. The other civilizations will try to capture you and force you to wish their power back. Jinwoo looked around at his crew, then at the dozens of prisons floating around their ship, each containing a trapped cosmic being. He thought about the civilizations across the galaxy that were probably mobilizing their fleets right now too. Come after him. I won't use my remaining wishes to put you back in chains, he said firmly. And I won't use them to restore power to empires that were built on enslaving others. Araleth smiled, but it was a worried smile. Then we need to prepare for war, because every major power in the galaxy will be coming for us soon. As if to emphasize her point, So Young's scanner began showing new contacts appearing at the edge of the system, lots of them. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, she reported. Big ones. And they're heading straight for us. The liberation of one cosmic entity had just made humanity the most wanted species in the galaxy. The first alien ships to arrive were massive war vessels from the Zephyrian Empire. Their dark hulls bristled with weapons that still worked, even though their most powerful magic-enhanced systems had failed. Admiral Kyung-ho of the Terran Defense Fleet received the emergency alert while he was having breakfast at the main human military base. Sir, we have a situation, his communications officer reported, running into the dining hall. Multiple alien fleets are heading towards Sector 7, where Captain Jinwoo's exploration ship was last reported. Kyung-ho set down his coffee and stood up. How many ships are we talking about? At least 50 from the Zephyrian Empire, another 30 from something called the Ethereal Collective, and more arriving every hour. They're all demanding that we hand over Captain Jinwoo and his crew. On what grounds? They claim Jinwoo committed an act of cosmic terrorism by disrupting universal law. Kyung-ho had known Jinwoo for years. The captain was many things, but a terrorist was not one of them. Get me a direct line to Jinwoo's ship and mobilize our fleet. If aliens want to threaten human citizens, they'll deal with us first. Meanwhile, on the crystal ship, Jinwoo watched the enemy vessels surround them. So Young counted at least 80 ships from various alien civilizations, all pointing weapons at their small exploration vessel. They're trying to communicate, Haijin reported. Multiple signals coming in. Put the strongest one through, Jinwoo ordered. The main screen flickered, then showed the face of a being that looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird. Its feathers were dark red and its eyes burned with anger. I am War Commander Sektal of the Zephyrian Empire, the alien said, its voice harsh and demanding. You will surrender the human called Jinwoo immediately. He has committed crimes against the cosmic order. Jinwoo stepped forward. I'm Captain Jinwoo. What crimes are you talking about? You destroyed the divine weapons that made our empire great. Our conquest fleets are stranded without their magic-enhanced systems. Our enemies grow bold, thinking we are weak. You will fix what you have broken. I didn't break anything, Jinwoo replied calmly. I freed someone who was being held prisoner. The wish-granter was not a prisoner, Sektal snarled. She was a resource bound by ancient law to serve those who found her. You have disrupted the natural order of the universe. Araleth floated into view beside Jinwoo. When the aliens saw her, many of them gasped. She was no longer bound, no longer forced to appear appealing to potential masters. Her true form was magnificent and terrible, like a star given human shape. Hello, Sektal, she said, her voice carrying the power of solar winds. I remember your ancestor, the one who first found me and wished for weapons of conquest. Tell me, how has that gift served your people? The war commander's feathers bristled. It made us the greatest empire in the galaxy. It made you dependent on magic instead of developing your own strength, Araleth corrected. Your people forgot how to fight with courage and skill because they relied on wished-for weapons. Your empire grew fat and lazy, conquering others. Through power you never earned. Another screen activated, showing a being that looked like it was made of pure energy. I am Speaker Prime of the Ethereal Collective, it said in a voice like singing crystals. Our immortality is fading because of your actions. Our perfect knowledge is becoming imperfect. You must restore what we have lost. Your immortality was a curse, not a gift, Aeroleth told them. I watched your people become bored with endless life. They stopped growing, stopped learning, stopped caring about anything because they knew they would never face consequences for their actions. A third screen showed a mechanical face with glowing red eyes. We are the Nexus Prime Collective, it said in a voice like grinding gears. Our processing capabilities have been reduced by 67.3%. This is unacceptable. The human will restore our unlimited computational power immediately. Your unlimited power made you forget that wisdom comes from struggle and limitation, Aeroleth replied. You became cold and calculating because you never had to make difficult choices with limited resources. Jinwoo listened to this exchange and began to understand something important. You're all afraid, he said suddenly. The alien commanders turned their attention back to him. Afraid? Sektal laughed harshly. We are the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. No, you're not, Jinwoo continued. You were powerful because of magic someone else gave you. Now that magic is gone, and you're scared that your enemies will discover how weak you really became while depending on it. The silence from the alien ships told him he was right. You could have used the power Aeroleth gave you to make your people stronger and wiser, Jinwoo went on. Instead, you used it as a crutch. Now you don't know how to stand on your own, War Commander Sektal's anger flared. Enough! You will return our power, or we will take it by force. How? Jinwoo asked simply. If you attack us, you'll destroy. The only person who can make wishes. If you capture us, you'll prove to the whole galaxy that the mighty Zephyrian Empire needs to threaten civilians to get what they want. The war commander hesitated. Jinwoo was right, and they both knew it. That's when Taemin made a discovery that changed everything. Captain, I'm picking up new signals. Ships are arriving from human space. Admiral Kyung-ho's voice came through their communication system. Captain Jinwoo, this is Admiral Kyung-ho with the 3rd Fleet. We're here to escort you home. On the main screen, they could see human ships dropping out of hyperspace. They were smaller than the alien vessels, but there were many of them, and they moved with the precision that came from years of training and cooperation. Admiral, you shouldn't have come, Jinwoo said. This situation is too dangerous. A human citizen called for help, Kyung-ho replied. That's all we needed to know. The alien commanders watched this exchange with growing confusion. The human ships were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had still come to protect one of their own. Your fleet cannot match our combined power, Speaker Prime of the Ethereals pointed out. Maybe not, Admiral Kyung-ho acknowledged. But we didn't come here to fight. We came here to bring our people home, and we're not leaving without them. War Commander. Sektal studied the human formation. You would risk your entire fleet for 5 people? We would risk our entire species for 5 people if they were our people. Kyung-ho answered without hesitation. This response seemed to confuse the aliens even more. The Zephyrians had built their empire on conquest and fear. The Ethereals had become disconnected from others through their immortality. The machine minds had calculated that individual lives had minimal value compared to collective efficiency, but humans had come running toward danger to help their friends. Aeroleth watched this interaction with growing amazement. She had seen thousands of species across the galaxy, but she had never seen anything like this. Most civilizations that gained power through her wishes became selfish and isolated. But humans seemed to become stronger when they worked together. This is why Jinwoo was able to free me, she realized out loud. His species doesn't see others as tools to be used. They see them as people to be helped. The floating prisons around them began to pulse brighter, as if the trapped cosmic entities inside were responding to hope they hadn't felt in millions of years. The standoff in space continued, but something fundamental had shifted for the first time. The alien empires were facing a species that valued freedom over power, cooperation over conquest, and compassion over control, and they had no idea how to fight against that. The tension in space grew thicker as more alien ships arrived each hour. War Commander Sektal was getting impatient, and his officers were pressing him to attack. But something about the human response bothered him. These were not the actions of a species that understood galactic power. "They're either very brave or very stupid," his tactical officer observed, watching the human ships maintain their protective formation around Jinwoo's vessel. "I'm beginning to think it's both," Sektal muttered, on the human flagship. Admiral Kyung-ho was studying the situation. His fleet was badly outnumbered, but he had noticed something interesting about the alien formations. They weren't working together very well. Each civilization's ships stayed in separate groups as if they didn't trust each other. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a private message from one of the ethereal ships. They want to negotiate separately from the others." Kyung-ho frowned. "Separately? Why?" Before anyone could answer, another officer spoke up. "Sir, the Machine Mind Collective is also requesting private talks, and so are 3 other alien groups. They don't trust each other," Kyung-ho realized. Each group wants to make their own deal for getting their power back. Meanwhile, on the crystal ship, something unexpected was happening. The floating prisons containing other cosmic entities had begun to move closer together. Araleth watched this with growing concern. "They're organizing," she told Jinwoo. "The trapped beings can sense that freedom is possible now. They're trying to coordinate somehow. Is that bad?" So Young asked. "I don't know. It's never happened before. We've all been isolated in our individual prisons for so long that we've never been able to communicate with each other." Suddenly, the largest of the floating prisons, a massive crystal that contained something that looked like a living galaxy, began to pulse with bright light. The pulses formed a pattern, like a code. "It's Veltar the Reality Shaper," Araleth breathed. "He's the oldest of us, trapped before even I was bound. He's trying to send a message." The light pulses spelled out words that appeared in the air: freedom for all or freedom for none. Other prisons began to pulse in response. They're trapped. Occupants agreeing with the message. Soon, dozens of cosmic entities were communicating for the first time in millions of years. Jin-Woo watched this display with a heavy heart. "They want me to free all of them, don't they?" "It's not just want," Araleth explained. "If you free some but not others, the cosmic balance will be disrupted even more than it already is. The civilizations that built their power on the still trapped entities will become desperate and dangerous." "How many wishes would that take?" Araleth counted the floating prisons around them. 47 individual wishes to free all the entities I can see. And there are probably more scattered throughout the galaxy. "But I only have 2 wishes left," Jinwoo said quietly. That's when Taemin had an idea. "What if we could free them without using wishes?" Everyone turned to look at the young engineer. "What do you mean?" Araleth asked. "You said the prisons are held together by cosmic laws and ancient magic. But every prison has a key somewhere, right? What if we could find those keys instead of wishing the locks away?" Araleth's eyes widened. That might actually work. The binding spells weren't designed to handle physical keys being found and used. They assumed no one would ever bother looking for such things when they could just make wishes instead. "Where would the keys be?" Dong Hyen asked. "Hidden in the places where we were first imprisoned," Araleth replied. "Ancient temples, forgotten worlds, dimensional pockets that most beings consider too dangerous to explore." Haijin looked up from her communications panel. "This conversation might have to wait. The alien fleets are getting restless. I'm intercepting messages between their ships. Some of them are talking about attacking us if we don't make a decision soon." That's when Admiral Kyung-ho's voice came through the comm system again. "Captain Jinwoo, I need to warn you about something." Our long-range sensors are detecting more ships heading toward this location. Not just military vessels, but civilian ships from dozens of different species. Civilians? Jinwoo asked. Why would civilians come here? Word is spreading throughout the galaxy about what you did, Kyung-ho explained. Some species see you as a hero who freed an enslaved being. Others see you as a terrorist who destroyed cosmic order. And some see you as their only hope for freedom from oppressive governments. Araleth nodded sadly. The civilizations that gained power through cosmic wishes didn't just become dependent on magic. They became oppressive to their own people and others. Many beings across the galaxy have been waiting for someone to challenge the cosmic order. Great, Jinwoo muttered. So now we have a galactic civil war brewing because I wanted to help. Someone? Not because you wanted to help, Araleth corrected gently. Because you chose to help. That choice is inspiring others to hope for change. The space around them was becoming crowded with ships from hundreds of different worlds. Some came to demand the restoration of their wished-for power. Others came hoping to be freed from the oppression that power had created. Still others came, simply out of curiosity to see the humans who had shocked the galaxy. War Commander Sektal was losing patience. This is chaos, he snarled to his officers. Every minor species in the galaxy thinks they can come here and have their voices heard. Order must be restored. He opened a channel to all ships in the area. I am War Commander Sektal of the Zephyrian Empire. By ancient right of conquest, I claim authority over this situation. All ships will withdraw except those authorized by the Empire. The response was immediate and unexpected. Dozens of species began broadcasting their own messages, rejecting Zephyrian authority and demanding equal voices in what happened next. Your empire only existed because of stolen power, shouted the captain of a small ship from a world the Zephyrians had conquered centuries ago. Without your magic weapons, you have no right to rule anyone. The age of cosmic tyranny is ending, declared another voice. The humans have shown us that even the most powerful magic can be overcome by simple kindness. Admiral Kyung-ho watched the chaos building around them and made a decision. All human ships form defensive positions around Captain Jinwoo's vessel. We're not taking sides in this conflict, but we're protecting our people. Admiral, Jinwoo said over the comm, I think I know what I need to do with my remaining wishes, but it's going to be risky. What do you have in mind? Jinwoo looked at Araleth, then at the floating prisons around them, then at the hundreds of ships filling the space nearby. Representatives from across the galaxy had come to this one spot, all because one human had chosen compassion over power. I'm going to wish for something that's never been wished for before, he said. I'm going to wish for the tools and knowledge needed to find, and use the keys that can free all the trapped cosmic entities without depending on more wishes. Araleth stared at him. That's brilliant, and incredibly dangerous. If you succeed, you'll break the entire system of cosmic slavery. But if you fail, the chaos could tear the galaxy apart. Then we better not fail, Jinwoo replied around them. The greatest gathering of civilizations in galactic history waited to see what one human captain would choose to do with the power to reshape reality itself. The liberation war was about to begin. Jinwoo took a deep breath and looked at Araleth. Around them, hundreds of ships waited in tense silence. The fate of the galaxy hung on his next words. I wish for the knowledge and tools needed to find and unlock all the prisons holding cosmic entities throughout the universe, he said clearly. The moment he spoke, reality shimmered around them. Information flooded into Jinwoo's mind, locations of hidden temples, maps to forgotten worlds, and the true history of how cosmic slavery had begun. At the same time, a small crystal device appeared in his hands, glowing with soft light. The universal key? Araleth whispered in amazement. I thought it was just a legend. What does it do? Taemin asked. It can unlock any prison created by cosmic magic, Jinwoo replied, the knowledge somehow now part of him. But it has to be used at the source, the original binding site for each entity. Araleth studied the device. Some of those locations are incredibly dangerous. Ancient worlds filled with traps, dimensions where time moves backward, places where reality itself is unstable. Then we'll need help, Jinwoo said. He activated the ship's communication system to broadcast to all the vessels around them. This is Captain Jinwoo of the human vessel New Horizon. I'm about to make my final wish, and I want everyone to hear it. War Commander Sektal's voice crackled over the com. Finally! Restore our power and end this chaos. No, Jinwoo replied calmly. My final wish is for the formation of the Galactic Liberation Alliance, a coalition of all willing species, dedicated to freeing every enslaved cosmic entity in the universe and establishing a new order based on cooperation, instead of domination. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Some ships cheered, others roared in anger, and a few opened fire on each other as old enemies found themselves in the same space. But something amazing happened next. The wish didn't just create an alliance, it created understanding. Every being within 100 light-years suddenly felt what the trapped cosmic entities had endured for millions of years. They experienced the pain of slavery, the longing for freedom, and the hope that someone might care enough to help. The shooting stopped as beings across dozens of species wept for the first time in their lives. I felt their suffering, Speaker Prime of the Ethereal said, his energy form flickering with emotion. All this time, we thought they were just tools. But they were people, trapped and in pain. War Commander Sektal was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, softer, more thoughtful. My ancestor. When he first found the wish granter, she was crying. I always thought it was joy at being found, but it was despair at being enslaved again. The machine minds of Nexus Prime processed this new information with difficulty. Their cold logic had never accounted for the emotional cost of their power. This data changes our calculations significantly, their representative finally said. We require time to reprocess our understanding of the situation. Jinwoo looked around at the faces on the screens, alien faces that were showing expressions of guilt, shame, and growing determination. We can't change the past, but we can change the future. Will you help us free the others? The response surprised everyone, especially War Commander Sektal himself. The Zephyrian Empire will contribute ships and warriors to this effort, he declared. We will use our remaining strength to right the wrongs our ancestors created. The Ethereal Collective offers our knowledge of ancient locations and magical defenses, Speaker Prime added. Nexus Prime will provide computational support and technological resources. The machine mind representative stated. One by one, representatives from dozens of civilizations pledged their support to the Liberation Alliance. Even species that had been enemies for centuries found themselves working toward the same goal. Admiral Kyung-ho watched this transformation with amazement. Captain Jinwoo, I think you just ended several wars and started the largest cooperative effort in galactic history. It's not my effort, Jinwoo replied. It belongs to everyone who chooses to help. The work began immediately. Using the knowledge from Jinwoo's wish, expedition teams were organized to visit the original binding sites of trapped entities. The missions were dangerous, but species that had never worked together before started sharing resources and expertise. Tae-Min found himself working with Zephyrian engineers to modify ships for dimensional travel. So Young collaborated with ethereal navigators to plot courses through unstable spacetime regions. Dawn Hyen shared research with machine mind scientists who were learning to value individual lives. Alongside collective efficiency. The first successful liberation happened 3 days later. A joint human-ethereal team used the universal key to free K-Lion, the Dreamweaver, from an ancient temple on a world where nightmares had physical form. When he emerged from his crystal prison, K-Lion wept for joy and immediately offered to help free others. I remember what freedom felt like, he said, his fire-like form dancing with happiness. No one should be denied that feeling. More liberations followed. Nick's era, the Starbinder, was freed from a dimension where gravity flowed like water. Veltar, the reality shaper, was released from a prison hidden inside a black hole. Each freed entity joined the growing alliance, bringing their own unique abilities to help others. But the most important change was happening in the civilizations themselves. Without their wished-for power to rely on, they were rediscovering their own strengths. The Zephyrians learned to fight with courage instead of magic weapons. The ethereals began appreciating mortal life again. The machine minds started valuing creativity alongside logic. We're becoming stronger by giving up our artificial power, War Commander Sectal observed during one of the Alliance meetings. How did we not see this before? Because power given freely is different from power taken by force, Araleth explained. When you help others become free, you become more free yourself. The liberation efforts continued for months. Some missions failed, and good beings died trying to help others. But for every setback, there were victories, ancient wrongs were corrected, and new friendships formed between species that had never trusted each other before. Finally, after liberating the last known cosmic entity, the Alliance faced a new question: what to do with their combined strength. We could build the greatest empire the galaxy has ever seen, suggested one ambitious species representative. Or we could make sure no one ever builds such an empire again, Jinwu countered. We could create something better, a true confederation where every species has a voice and every individual has rights. This idea led to the Galactic Freedom Accord, a treaty that established principles of cooperation, individual liberty, and mutual aid throughout known space. It wasn't perfect, and it took years to fully implement, but it was a start. Araleth chose to stay with Jinwu and his crew, not as a bound servant but as a friend and partner in exploration. Together, they founded the first sanctuary for freed cosmic entities, a space station where beings who had never known choice could learn what freedom meant. What will you call it? So Young asked as they watched the station being built. Jin-Wu smiled. Freedom Station? Because that's what it represents, the idea that everyone deserves the right to choose their own path. Years later, when historians studied this period, they called it the Great Liberation. But Jinwu always insisted it started with something much simpler, one person choosing to care about someone else's freedom more than their own power. The galaxy was a very different place now. It wasn't perfect, there were still conflicts and problems, but it was a place where slavery was outlawed, where cooperation was valued over conquest, and where anyone could look up at the stars and know that somewhere out there, people cared about their freedom. And sometimes, when Jinwu looked out at those stars from the bridge of his ship, he could swear he heard the whisper of cosmic entities who were finally, truly free, saying thank you to the human who had wished for their happiness instead of his own.